Telling you what I see. What I see is interesting in San Francisco. News story today, Deebo Samuel out 2 weeks. So now Christian McCaffrey, the motor, is out of the offense. And Deebo Samuel, who is the great chess piece for the Niners, he's out of the offense. So now Brock Purdy, no excuses, instead of having the most stacked roster in the league, is like a George Kittle ankle sprain from just having a really good roster. No excuses. Sam Darnold didn't have his number 2 receiver, his number 1 tight end, and by the end of the game, his number 1 receiver, and lit San Francisco's defense up. Joe Burrow still doesn't have Higgins. He was really good against Kansas City. I mean, I'm watching guys all over this league. So here's the question with Brock Purdy. Is he a foundational piece? Because at the end of this year, he's going to want money. He's been playing for free. He's going to want money. Not like he's making a ton with endorsements. And so the next 2-3 weeks now, no McCaffrey, no Deebo. Brandon Ayuk relationship right now is building, but has not been good. He's not getting a ton of looks. And I'm looking around this league. Sam Darnold was missing all sorts of stuff Sunday and outplayed Brock Purdy. He didn't have his number 1 or number 2 receiver or his number 1 tight end by the end of the game and looked great. Now, the good news for the Niners, their schedule, they got layups coming up. Rams are all beat up than New England, so there's layups. But I'm watching Jalen Hurts last night. Didn't have A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts was unbelievable. The Bills are top 3 in scoring, and they don't have Stephon Diggs. He's gone. So you start looking around. You can really figure out, are you just going to be a guy that needs to be carried, or are you a guy that can carry? Because no Deebo and no Christian McCaffrey, those are great players. And they're not only great players. One's the engine. The other is the primary chess piece. But you still have Kittle, Trent Williams. We think Jennings will play. Backup running back's good. Brandon Ayuk. But it's important now. Is he a foundational piece or just a good poker player when he has the right hand? When he has the good cards, he can win a hand. Which is he? You know where I land? Like him. I thought he was solid Sunday. But these next 3 or 4 games, when he may not have Deebo, he may not have McCaffrey, watch closely. J-Mac with the news.
Okay. Guys, why can't we just have an honest discussion about Brock Purdy? I really don't get it. If you missed my whole rant, I just did a whole thing about Brock Purdy on First Things First. I'm not going to be able to bring that level of intensity because when I bring that energy, it's very authentic. I'm not putting on a show. I don't just get animated for no point. It's because like it just comes to me. And in this moment, I'm kind of just like what are we talking about? Let's just take away every single weapon for Brock Purdy and then expect him to just be a top quarterback in the NFL. How good do you think Patrick Mahomes looks if they take away Rashee Rice and Pacheco? How good do you think? How good do you think if we took Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce? How good would Patrick Mahomes look? It's just like, what are we saying here? Yes. Do we want to see Brock Purdy still put his team in a position to win? Absolutely. Because yeah, Jalen Hurts was missing A.J. Brown, and he was rocking and rolling. He played really great. He was the top 4 according to PFF. So I get it. I'm not saying that you could just, that it's an excuse to be a disaster, to go on a losing streak necessarily. But like, we made excuses for Matthew Stafford for being down Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and having no O-line. We're like, well, yeah, what do we expect him to do against the Cardinals? He's got nothing going for him. And it's just so, I don't understand why we don't offer any of that to Brock Purdy. It just doesn't make sense. Players matter. I say this all the time, and I've said this already today in another video. Players matter. Now I am getting worked up. That's why we pay them hundreds of millions of dollars. You can't just win with anyone. And if we want to afford it to say maybe Patrick Mahomes, maybe Tom Brady, well, congratulations. They are 2 of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the universe. So that's the standard? You're either Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, or you're just not good. You're just not good enough to carry a team. It just doesn't make sense. And guess what? Sam Darnold looked great with Kevin O'Connell and that offense in the Vikings. And I wholeheartedly admit that, and I'm excited to watch it. And he was making great plays. But Sam Darnold was playing quarterback. He wasn't like carrying that team. He did what he needed to do. He hit the open guy, made some big throws, was mobile. He was doing great stuff. All things that Brock Purdy has proven to do. Whether McCaffrey's out there or Debo's out there. If you want to ask the question, is Shanahan good enough to scheme guys open, to execute an offense in a way that Purdy can then do? Will you get open men for Purdy? Will Purdy be running for his life? Will he have guys down the field to hit? Will he have a run game that he can work from? That ends up actually probably being on more to Shanahan. When you're down that many guys, it's more about coaching than the quarterback itself for the most part. That's the way I view it, at least right now. Maybe I'll change that. I got to think about that a little bit more, but that is what I'm saying right now. When you're down this many guys, it's more on the coach to find a way. Of course, if the quarterback just plays awful, then yes, we can obviously, you're right, you can't just blame the coach. Sam Darnold just was hitting guys in the feet and throwing them over their head, well then yeah, you're not going to blame Kevin O'Connell. That's why you got to watch the game. You got to actually watch the game closely. What Sam Darnold did without all those weapons was because he had Kevin O'Connell having a master game plan. That was the huge difference. We've seen Sam Darnold without lots of weapons, and when he didn't have the head coach to do it, he failed. That's literally proof to my point right there. So we'll learn more about Shanahan than Brock Purdy, or we'll learn about both of them, quite frankly. Because we'll see if Brock Purdy doesn't look as good, and if they're not winning, we can say, oh, Brock Purdy's just missing guys. Or no one's open. Shanahan can't scheme anything when he doesn't have Debo or Christian McCaffrey. Like, it's going to be fascinating to see. I'm really excited to see what this looks like. But to put this all on Brock Purdy, it just does not make sense to me. It just does not make sense to me. And also, I've said this before, like weeks ago, maybe even months ago. Not all quarterbacks are in a position to be able to put an entire team, an entire city, an entire state on their back and carry them to victory. That doesn't mean that they're not great or not elite. They do different things. I've said this definitely. Josh Allen has the ability to put a team on his back more than pretty much any quarterback out there, more than Brock Purdy, because of his physicality, because of what he can do running and throwing. He can do everything. Technically, we have players that can do more for their team, but you have other players that can get higher levels out of what they can do great. Right? Technically, you could have a running back, right? Who can not only run, but also catch the ball and be a great receiver. We obviously know that. Sometimes it's better for your team, right? Technically, Christian McCaffrey can do more passing and rushing, right? But you could make an argument if there was another running back right now who was just a straight running back, can't catch the ball at all, right? His hands, he's got no hand. He has little things and just has to like hold it, right? He can't catch, can't do anything. But he can rush. He's an absolute monster. And he rushes for 200 yards every single game. You would probably pick that running back over Christian McCaffrey, even though Christian McCaffrey has ability to do more and more versatile for his team. You could absolutely make that argument. So even though Brock Purdy may not be able to carry a team that's held together with duct tape and has no weapons, is not an automatic indictment on him not being a good quarterback. You can make the argument that what Brock Purdy does for this team is he gets to maximize the talent. Maybe Brock Purdy is a maximizer. He maximizes the talent that you give him and maximizes the head coach that he's given. He gets to maximize it to the fullest. Something that maybe a lot of other quarterbacks fail to do because they can't follow direction. They are bad off script. They can't consistently hit the open guy or consistently make the right play as much as Brock Purdy. Right? Maybe Brock Purdy is not as good as, say, it's not hard to say. It's not a far stretch to say, you know what? Lamar Jackson is probably a better quarterback with less talent than maybe, say, a Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy is a better quarterback with better talent than Lamar Jackson is. These statements can all be true. So that's why you have to actually just look at what you're seeing. It's nuanced. It's nuanced. It's not black and white. Some quarterbacks are better at overcoming a team that's not all there, and some quarterbacks are better at maximizing. That's what makes a Tom Brady and a Patrick Mahomes so good, is that they can do both. That's very rare. That's very rare. Very rare. People were burying Matthew Stafford in Detroit. I wasn't, but they were. They were already burying Sam Darnold, and now Sam Darnold's succeeding. Tom Brady struggled to win in New England in the final year or so. And then he got help and then immediately won a Super Bowl. It's almost like help matters. That's weird. Well, I don't understand how that works. Brock Purdy's a maximizer. He maximizes the talent around him. Maybe he can't elevate the talent, but he can maximize it. And I'm not even saying that he can't elevate it. There's probably a threshold, quite frankly. I just take issue with this automatic, this is it. These next couple weeks, missing all of the key offensive weapons, Brock Purdy's going to show us who he is. And this is how we finally reach our conclusion. It's just not fair. It's really not. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think this is now where we figure out who Brock Purdy truly is? And do you think he's going to fail? Do you think he's just going to not be good enough? And do you think if he succeeds, he will actually get credit and get flowers? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussion. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I'm going to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.